Okay, you ready for this? We're really going to dig deep into a topic that affects every single one of us. Um, Mental health, and not just skimming the surface. We're going way deeper, especially with World Mental Health Day coming up.
It really is interesting to think about, like, how this whole thing's evolved, right? It used to be just a day for awareness, and now it's become this huge global conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously we all know mental health is important, but the numbers always kind of blow my mind. Like, did you know 1 in 4 people experience a mental health issue at some point?
It's a staggering statistic.
Right. It's huge. That means if we were all hanging out in a room together, one of us would be dealing with this, and yet we still don't really talk about it openly. Why do you think that is?
It really all comes back to stigma. Mental and physical health have always been treated as separate things, and unfortunately, that's created this culture where people feel ashamed to speak up. Thankfully, that's what World Mental Health Day is trying to change, breaking down those barriers.
So it's way more than just a hashtag or a social media post then.
Absolutely. It's about shining a spotlight on how widespread these issues really are and pushing for real change. Better support systems, more understanding, less judgment. And it happens every year, by the way. October 10th, mark your calendars.
And it's not even just a one-day thing anymore, right? I was reading that some countries, like Australia, they actually have a whole week dedicated to it.
Yep, they call it Mental Health Week. It's a great example of how much awareness has grown. A whole week really shows a commitment to tackling this stuff head on.
That's awesome. But it makes you wonder, like, what about the other 364 days of the year? How do we take these big ideas about mental health and actually make them part of our everyday lives?
That's the real question, right? And it's interesting. A lot of our sources this time around actually highlighted the workplace as like a major battleground for mental health, which when you think about it makes sense, right? We spend so much of our lives at work.
Oh, totally. I bet most of us have had at least one job that was super stressful, or, that one boss who made everyone miserable.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual experiences. You zoom out a little and the workplace becomes like a mini version of society as a whole. If we can't even talk about mental health at work, where we spend, what, a third of our lives, then how can we expect to deal with it in a bigger sense?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So are companies actually starting to get it? Like, are they really making changes, or is it mostly talk?
Well, I'm sure it's a mixed bag, like with anything else, but there's definitely a growing movement towards creating better work environments. For one thing, companies are finally moving away from this always-on mentality. Work-life balance is becoming more and more important.
Thank goodness. What else are we seeing?
Open communication is another big one. Instead of suffering in silence, companies are actually encouraging employees to speak up about their mental health without fear of, judgment or consequences.
That's huge. But I imagine that requires a pretty big culture shift for a lot of companies.
Oh, absolutely. And some are even taking it a step further, offering things like wellness programs that are specifically designed to support employees' mental health. Like, we're talking mindfulness workshops, on-site counseling, that kind of thing.
Wow. On-site counseling. That's really going the extra mile. It sounds like companies are finally realizing that happy employees, well, they make for a happy bottom line.
It's true, and we actually have some stats to back that up. Companies with these kinds of programs are reporting some pretty impressive results, like a 28% reduction in sick leave.
Seriously,
Mm.
28%. That's incredible. I guess it's hard to argue with numbers like that. Okay, so we've talked about why World Mental Health Day exists in the first place, and we've touched on how important it is to address mental health, especially at work. But now let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Like, what can we as individuals actually do every day to feel better?
Yes, the million-dollar question. And luckily, you don't need a therapist on speed dial to make a difference. There are tons of super simple but surprisingly powerful things we can all do.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me with the good stuff. What kind of simple things are we talking about?
Well, first up, we've got exercise.
Here we go again with the exercise.
I know. It always comes up.
It does. And like, I get it. I know it's good for you, but how exactly does sweating it out help my mental health?
Well, it's more than just that feeling of, like, exhilaration you get after a good workout, although that definitely helps. But exercise literally changes your brain chemistry. It's like magic. It releases endorphins, reduces those nasty stress hormones, and can even help you sleep better. And we all know how important sleep is for, well, everything.
So it's like a chemical thing happening in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. Honestly, I'm way more likely to stick with something if I understand the science behind it.
Exactly. And another thing, it doesn't have to be anything crazy intense. It doesn't have to be a hardcore gym session. Even just going for a walk in nature can make a world of difference.
There's that nature thing again. I swear, every time we talk about mental well-being, nature always comes up. What's up with that?
It's pretty incredible, right? There's tons of research out there that shows how just being in nature, I mean, really being in nature, like trees and fresh air and all that good stuff, it can lower your stress levels, boost your mood, even help you focus. And it makes sense when you think about it, right? Our brains kind of crave that connection with the outdoors. It's in our DNA or something.
Okay, you've convinced me. Nature walk is going on my to-do list, like right now.
Oh.
So we've got exercise, we've got nature. What else? What about food? That has to play a role too, right?
Ding, ding, ding. You got it. What you eat doesn't just affect your physical health, it plays a huge part in your mental well-being, too.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that, like, loading up on sugar and junk food probably isn't the best strategy.
Sadly, no, it is not. Those kinds of foods can send your blood sugar levels on a wild ride, and then you're stuck with energy crashes, mood swings, brain fog. It's not pretty.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. Okay, so less junk, more of the good stuff. But what does a brain-boosting diet actually look like?
It's all about balance, really. Think fruits, vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats. Give your brain the nutrients it needs to function at its best. Imagine putting like the cheapest gas you can find into a fancy sports car you wouldn't expect it to run very well.
Well, definitely not.
Same goes for your brain. It needs the right fuel to thrive.
Love that analogy. Okay, so we're taking care of our bodies, we're taking care of our minds, but like we're not just these isolated beings, right? There's got to be something to be said for connecting with other people too.
100%. We as humans are wired for connection. It's in our nature, literally. It's crucial for our well-being.
So wait, are you saying that like helping other people can actually help boost our own mental health?
You know, it really can. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. And volunteering is a perfect example. It's like this win-win where you're giving back to your community and fighting loneliness at the same time.
Yeah, volunteering, it always sounds so great, but honestly, it can feel kind of overwhelming. Like, where do you even start? And who has the time, right?
I get it. It can definitely seem like a lot, but honestly, it doesn't have to be some huge commitment. Even small gestures can make a world of difference, both for you and the other person. Think about it, checking in on an elderly neighbor, baking some cookies for a friend who's having a rough week, or just, being there for someone who needs to vent.
It's true. Sometimes just listening can be the best thing you can do for someone. We forget that.
We really do. And think about how good it feels when someone does that for you. It's a two-way street for sure. When we all make an effort to be a little kinder, a little more understanding, everyone benefits. We all need that.
This has been such a great conversation, honestly. I feel like I've learned so much about, what World Mental Health Day is all about and what we can all do to like actually take care of ourselves.
It all boils down to this. Taking care of your mental well-being isn't selfish, it's essential. When you prioritize your mental health, you're able to show up as a better version of yourself, and for the people around you.
It's like they say, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of yourself first. So, to everyone listening out there, what's your takeaway? What really resonated with you today? Maybe you're feeling inspired to take a walk in nature, try a new healthy recipe, or just pick up the phone and call a friend. No matter how small it might seem, remember that even the smallest steps can make a huge difference in the long run. Until next time, be good to yourselves and each other.